All right. Well, we've started now, the podcast, and I like to start every podcast by asking, what is it that you do and
Sure.
who you are? But that's a bit deep, but just,
Okay, cool. I'm Sussan Ockwell, and my main company is called Optimism. So it's corporate learning and development, a lot of digital learning. We work for the big corporates, and certainly in the last couple of years, a lot for the government, just while the corporates were being quiet, but hopefully they'll come back soon. And my new company is the Induction company, which has the Induction App, which is like a digital platform to help small, medium businesses induct their people really well, set them up for success. That's what I do. Oh, plus I'm on the board of Entrepreneurs Organisation. I only say that because it's such a big part of my life as well.
Yeah, you're saying I need to upskill on that. Can you tell me a little bit about that entrepreneurial, what would you say?
Yeah, Entrepreneurs Organisation.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. So we've... I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Vern Harnish, Scaling Up. So he's got the Gazelles Institute as well. He's out of US. And he was all about helping small or fast-growing businesses grow faster and better. And he wrote lots of stuff. He did lots of things and then realised that they just didn't have a community to rub together. And so he formed this thing called Entrepreneurs Organisation. So it came out of US. Tony Falkenstein from Just Life Group, he initiated it here in New Zealand, I think maybe 24 years ago now. And so in New Zealand, we have about 120 entrepreneurs and I think about 20 what we call accelerators who don't quite meet the threshold. So the threshold for Entrepreneurs Organisation is $1 US mil turnover. So that means you generally have a bunch of staff. The thing about Entrepreneurs Organisation is we're all in it together. It doesn't matter what sort of industry or business you have. We fundamentally have similar challenges. It's you've got cash flow issues, or your number two just quit, or now you've got to make people redundant, or just whatever, or your biggest contract just got cancelled. So all of those sorts of things. So it's within Entrepreneurs Organisation, we have, or we call it EO, we've got such strong values that I could go to an EO function and I could want to know what salespeople should be worth. And I could ask 5 people, what do you pay your salespeople? And they will tell me. So it's just iron sharpening iron all the time. And yeah, as part of EO, you get put into a forum and there's lots of learning events, social events, the whole works. But inside your forum, you might have 7 to 10 businesses. You meet each month. I had my forum last night. And we meet for first sort of, a few hours. We talk about a top 5%, bottom 5% for the month. So reflections. Then we take turns putting a challenge on the table and whatever it happens to be for you. And everybody else says, hey, well, when that happened to me or when I was in a similar situation, I did this. So we can't give advice ever. We only experience share. So just imagine constantly getting input and advice from 7 other entrepreneurs, very different industries, and learning from their experience. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's so important. I think any success, whether personal or professionally, has been the result of someone else. Or any hardship has been the result of someone else too.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. But you're right. When people look at the big differences, the big shifts that they had in their lives or their businesses, there was a mentor, or there was somebody who believed in them, or there was somebody who spoke into their life, or there was, and it just made a switch, made a change. And I know you can do that through books as well, which is why they say how many books you read is how fast you grow and develop, but also the people who get to speak into your life somehow.
Yeah, my business associate calls it making the invisible visible.
Yes, I was just saying that yesterday.
Well, yeah. Well, there you go. You two will get along.
Yeah. Seeing what you don't see and being willing to be challenged by somebody. And so that's part of the EO ethos as well, that you challenge, you ask the hard questions, and yeah. Yeah,
I find 3 main reasons I see businesses fail is either a lack of self-awareness, so admitting when, either they're not the right person for the job, or where they're lacking in some area and people are trying to give feedback and they're avoiding it. The other one would be spending too much. and the other one would be not having enough support.
Yeah. Yeah, I think support's really big. I agree with you first two, but support's really big. So I didn't find EO until only about 7 years ago. And it was actually Tony Falkenstein who sort of gave me a call and said, hey, have you heard of EO? Somebody said you might be good for this, and do you want a coffee about it? And it's absolutely changed my life and my business.
I believe
being an EO.
I'm a little precious. I don't like hang out with people I choose to hang out with. But the premise, the same thing. Like, for example, I interviewed some competitors on the podcast a few years back, and one of them was like, well, why don't we get together? And I was like, well, why don't we do that? So every month we get together and support, encourage each other, or rip people apart. They rip my business plan apart.
Yeah.
And it's a game changer. It's like the trajectory.
Yeah.
Just changes your life.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, that's huge. On the cost thing, that was your second point, the biggest reason. I just went to a Jack Daly thing. I'm not sure if you heard Jack Daly. He's a big in sales and also culture and life by design. One of his things is there is no costs in business. Your expenditure must be return on investment, and that's how you judge it. Which is just a little shift in thinking. Like, do I need this brand new furniture? Is there a return on that investment over and above if I got secondhand furniture for the office?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, and when I was saying cost, I was thinking of people, getting their Ferrari on finance and wearing their, designer clothes and whatever. I don't get that. Maybe if you love cars and you love a certain, way you present.
Or if you're motivated by status.
Yeah.
Big cat, no cows. That's that Texan, big hat, no cattle. But they like to look good.
Big hat, no cattle. I like it. Yeah. The only person I try and look good in front of is myself in the mirror. Which is hard sometimes.
It helps if it's a tinted mirror.
yeah, like it's one that they should do it like a Snapchat filter. That's like immediately. While you're looking at it.
Or that fuzzy lighting, unlike the stuff they put in dressing rooms. Why do you always look so awful in a dressing room?
That's rough.
That's not useful.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they give you filtered lighting so you look good and
exactly.
then you buy more?
Yeah, mood lighting.
Especially bikinis, honestly. You probably haven't tried on bikinis, but whenever you're trying on bikinis, it's like, oh my goodness, surely I don't look like that in daylight because it's such harsh light.
Yeah, it is. It's rough.
And it's coming from there as well, so you get all the bits you don't want to see like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, when I get a bikini, I'll let you know.
Next time you try.
Yeah, I'll try it. All right. Well, I think also it's good to inspire. There could be a young business owner starting out, listening to this, or even an older business owner starting out and being like, is this even possible? Is it too late to reinvent myself?
No.
So when did you decide you were going to be a business owner? Did you start selling lemonade when you were 4? Or?
Oh, funny. No, so when I was at school, I was really good at school work, whereas my sister was creative. So she was creating, way back then, very artistic and creative. And she used to make all of these little brooches out of Fimo. I don't know if you know what Fimo is, but you can design little brooches. And she used to make all these, and I thought, that's so unfair. She can do something and I can't sell maths equations, really. But what I started doing was giving her a certain amount for these things, selling them for more, keeping the margin, of course. And that was probably my first little piece. But I always knew I'd be self-employed, or at least in business, self-employed. Always. My father was and my mother was. So it was a no-brainer I had to be. And back then also, when I was going to school, because I left at 16 because, it got boring, my father used to always say, you can be in business, that's a good thing. You could work for someone else, or you could work for the government. And that, in his eyes, that was the worst possible thing.
yeah, Dad. Yeah.
Getting that government job for life.
Yeah.
That one. So, we just had a very self-reliant family mentality.
Yeah, got ya. Well, that's rare, like entrepreneurship has only become fashionable recently. last few years. So you had a support network and the family encouraging you on that. So did your friends think you're a bit like, what are you doing? Like, come get the job, the safe job. You're not making any money yet. What? Like,
okay. I didn't actually have any friends.
oh, okay.
No, I didn't. I just didn't.
Yeah.
I know I hung out with a couple of people at school, and I'm grateful for them letting me hang out with them.
Yeah.
But no, I never had deep friends at school. I didn't go to university, so I didn't make friends there. I didn't get to do the small child baby thing, so I didn't get to meet baby child parents either, so I didn't really get friends from there. Again, why EO has been life-changing for me.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Because now I actually, even in my first sort of, weeks, it was like, oh my goodness, I finally found my tribe. I belong here. I actually fit.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, if it makes you feel better, on my 21st, I invited quite a few people. 2 people turned up. One of them I didn't know. And my friend, he had a speech because he was prepared for a group of people. And so he started talking to the cushions because there's no one else there. So, yeah. So, I feel you. And it makes sense with that entrepreneurial organization.
EO.
Fuck. EO.
Yeah.
Because, it's all set up. You just slot in and you just got to meet a certain criteria. The challenge is it's hard to get from, from nothing to that revenue without the support in the middle, especially if you're not someone that can accumulate a network.
Yeah.
Is there another way to get there, or have you seen other successful models that could do that? Not necessarily in competition to them, but whether it's organizing meet and greets, whether it's door knocking 100 business owners and getting 2 friends.
Yeah, well, I think when I've looked at all the businesses that really go strong, go well, it's typically because, not mine, because the people met in university or somewhere, they were friends, they had different skills. So one was maybe marketing or sales, and the other was the actual technician part of whatever the business was. They hooked up, and maybe there was a finance person. So either 2 or 3, sometimes 4, they hook up and they go, let's do something together. And you've already got that support network, you've got people who've hopefully got the same vision, but they're working towards the same goal. They can share the hard decisions, or when it's going well or when it's not. If you're a single business owner, which I've always been, apart from my first 6 months, different story. It's a lot harder because you have to own everything. And I think you go slower, which is what they say. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go a long way, go together. Yeah. And I know that. And I've started now to do something about that. So I have got my EO circle. I still don't have an advisory board or a board, but I'm now more conscious of strengthening through like shareholding and things like that, strengthening the people who deeply care about the businesses.
That's an art, eh? It's like, so I have massive trust issues because I understand people too well. But I focus not on trusting them, but trusting I'll be okay if something happens, and then just giving them certain responsibilities and letting them run rampant with it. On that business partnership, because another big failing and why businesses tear apart is they've assigned too much control with lack of oversight to a certain aspect of their business and got absolutely,
see that all the time.
Yeah. What sort of, do you see a differentiator between the successful partnerships and unsuccessful?
Where there's 2 or 3 people in a business.
Yeah, and it works.
Oh,
because it's hard.
Yeah. Oh, that is. I know. That's why I've never tried it. Partly because when I first went into business, I went into business with another woman, completely different. We were publishing. Oh my goodness, a weekly publication is the most stressed I've ever been in my entire life. At 22, I developed a little white streak along there.
Oh, yeah.
Bizarre.
Stress.
But, yeah, huge stress. Oh, horrible industry or thing to do. Our operating styles were so different. Our values were different. Our operating styles were different. Everything was different. And there is no cohesiveness. So I think just like in a marriage or a deep relationship, your values and your vision need to be aligned, and then the clarity of responsibilities.
it makes sense. I'm starting to develop more of an understanding of it's called acceptance and commitment therapy, because part of what I enjoy is the emotional component of life and helping facilitate success in that sense.
Yeah.
And it helped me define values, and mine are empathy, authenticity, and responsibility. Anything more, I'll forget it. And that's the filter of which I view relationships and opportunities, whether professional or personal. And because it's hard to be around someone that doesn't respect your boundaries, and it's also hard to respect someone that doesn't have those boundaries. Doesn't mean I have to dislike them, because they're not here and I'm thinking about them. That's stupid. Like, oh, this person's such an asshole. Because who's that hurting? It's like the bully that keeps on bullying.
Yeah.
So how did you discover your values, or do you have values, or, I'm making assumptions here.
Do you have values? Yeah, I do. And I revisit them every so often. And, ideally they don't change. And also that part of the purpose. I suppose some of mine get embedded into the organisation as well, like the original organisation. Yeah, if you say, what are they? Yeah. From a personal perspective, I do need to go and review them, but I do know it's around variety. It's around adventure activity and doing, but also constant learning. Because if I stop learning, I don't know, I lose myself, actually.
It's interesting. Yeah. It's like you've got, for lack of a better word, you're almost always stimulated. You got variety, you got adventure.
Yeah. Otherwise, there's boredom. And the boredom is not useful.
Yeah, and being alone with yourself.
Oh, no, I love being alone.
Okay.
Oh, no, that's where I recharge. No, I love being alone. Love it.
Yeah, okay. Because, like if I was to look at those underlying values, I would think there's a certain need to have something going on. Otherwise, it's quite confronting to not have those distractions. That's why I sort of went there, but we don't have to go.
Oh, no, I'm fine with that. No, I actually, I was just reflecting back on some of the most joyful times or experiences of my life, most joyful. And joyful is pretty well always alone, whether I'm tramping or whether I'm sitting on the beach or whether I'm traveling alone or whether, I know it's a terrible thing to say, I'm married. But that's different, because joyful is deep inner joy, and so that's inside me. Whereas happy is more, or fun, because we were differentiating between joy and fun. So fun, that's my fun stuff. But the other is no, I love my own company. Love it.
Makes sense. Like, so I made a decision that I was going to build a business around emotional success 7 years ago, but people scared me. Like, that was my number one fear. So I did commission-only selling. Essentially, I talked to 100,000 people over 13 years. I worked it out. And I do. I find serenity and peace, and I feel on show with people.
Yep.
It's quite hard to land and
Absolutely.
be like, here I am.
Yeah.
So I feel you on this.
Yeah. Most of the time, it is sort of a performance. So my trade, if you like, is as a trainer. And I'm performing. And then at the end of that, at the end of a day or something like that, thank goodness I don't do much anymore. At the end of a day, I'm ready to run away. And people want to come and talk and say, no, I'm done. I need to have no people. And so, I suppose in the weekends, that's why I'm quite quiet, because I'm peopled out. I'm slightly more introvert than extrovert. I can perform when needed, but I'm very introverted.
We had there was a moment where we had to go and stop people in the street because the shopping centre closed, because that's what we do. We'd stop 40 people a day and get rejected by hundreds. Or thousands sometimes.
Wow, resilience.
Yeah, resilience. But then essentially when I had to do that, I just went and cried because it was so overwhelming. And then I was like, all right, tomorrow again, we're off. And so that needing to disconnect and recharge is, I think, an essential component. And then having people that respect and understand that. And that's a two-way street of communicating it and holding that space.
Man, that's committed.
Yeah, wow.
That's really pushing yourself through your boundaries and out the other side.
Yeah, and it never went away, which is great.
Wow.
After all of that, you still get fearful. So, but it just, what it teaches you, because there is exposure therapy, and you can, like, if you're afraid of needles, incrementally get exposed to it.
Yeah.
The challenge with people is that it's not you can't have controlled environments, so you can't medicate yourself by saying, hey, you have this certain fear around people. You get the reassurance to reparent yourself that, hey, it's okay, people aren't that bad. But then people have huge variation. So it's quite hard to use exposure therapy to do that. And also I'm getting rejected all the time, which reinforces my fear of people. So I've actually adjusted that. I wouldn't recommend that as an approach to...
How did you shift it in your head? What did you say differently?
For me, it's about incremental exposure of vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
And areas that are accepting. So it might even just be eye contact with someone. That teaches me, hey, they have eye contact back. That's a positive reinforcement. Yeah. And it's not about hiding the emotion and withdrawing it. Yeah. It's about wearing it in small pieces that have a high probability of success.
Right, yeah, yeah.
And then you get bigger and stronger vulnerability-wise. I never got bigger, stronger in person. Just got bigger and wider through McDonald's.
I do remember when I was 22, first in business, and... after the end of the publishing, thank goodness, with the 180,000 overdraft. Nice. At 22, it's like they lent that much to you then on overdraft. But anyway,
that's mad.
So I had to force myself to go to back then Chamber of Commerce, where it was all men, and they all had dark black suits on. Oh, yeah. I'd be the only woman in the room, and I had to try and talk to these people to see if I could generate business, and I hated it. Yeah. Forced myself into it. Now I can do it, and it's definitely the key is to look for the person standing by themselves, because they'll be delighted to see you.
100%. The outcast of sort. Well, just the people that are interim, they're in the moment. Yeah, I do that too. I was like, who's the weak link, for lack of a better word, and start there and then merge. Yeah, I get you. I decided I kept trying to force networking, but then I realized social media, I can reach a large amount of people. What am I actually good at? Okay, one-on-one, I feel more comfortable and at ease. Yeah. So I just facilitate that and then record it. Yeah. So you and I could be talking to hundreds of thousands of people, depending on how the content goes. Yeah.
How exciting it is.
Yeah. The long form doesn't have that much, just the little ones that take off. Cool. All right. So $180,000 overdraft. That's daunting. How did you work that out? Like, you had repayments you had to make, or it just sat there and then they're like, oh, like, how you going? No, you going to sell your house? Or?
It just sat there. Did I even have a house then? No, I'd sold my house. So the reason I could go into business in the first place is I got married young, left school early. My dad helped us build a house. And so we had this house. Hadn't actually finished the house when we decided we needed to separate, anyway. But
separated and 180,000 overdraft.
Yeah, and living by myself. In a flat that I was paying $250 a week for.
Back then.
Yeah, and I was maybe I was paying 200 or 180, and my drawings were $250 a week. Yay. Fun stuff. I probably packed up at that point. So as a result of that, I know this is a bit messy, sorry. As a result of that, because the publishing put that to bed, wrote this little magazine with all the goodness that I collected, how to write your CV, how to get a job, how to plan your life. I'm so wise at 22. Anyway, wrote this thing, and it went gangbusters, because back then everybody was laying off people, and they would buy, the governments and things would buy box loads of these books, and that was enough to keep me alive for a while. And then they go, hey, run a seminar on it, and run a training course on that. And I went, okay. And then I scored my first really large contract with a government department who was laying off thousands. And then that sort of slowly became, from off the back of that, pretty well, I started the company.
Wow.
Yeah. In the meantime, obviously I got a degree because I knew it was sort of important, but I did it completely by correspondence. Yeah.
There was a guest we had a few years back, Stan Henry. He does Tension Seekers, and his whole business model was business manager and helping other business owners, because he was a general manager for large hotel chains. So he was giving them advice and supporting them, similar to EO. Finally got some of it right. And then suddenly COVID hit, and his whole business model, all his clients didn't want to pay him, just stopped it. So he, for 2 weeks, because he moved from Australia, sold everything, brought his girlfriend with him, and like they were relying solely on this business, disappeared overnight. So he sat and played Assassin's Creed, a video game, and felt sorry for himself for 2 weeks, and then he pivoted and changed everything. Did you have that? Like, what was your wallowing period? Like, what were you... Do you just like look at the ceiling and actually, what is my life?
No. So what? Yeah, I actually remember that. So it was like, oh my goodness, we've closed this magazine. So we'd been running it 6-9 months or something. It was getting worse, not better. And I'm permanently optimistic. I just am. So I kept expecting next week we'll make more sales. It'll be better. Anyway, thank goodness my business partner was older and wiser than me. That's about it. And she went, nah, we got to quit this. She did a runner, went off, got herself a contract, and pretty well went, here you go. So I went, okay, right, what do I do here? I probably need to get a job. So I remember looking at the newspaper and picked out a job, funnily enough, with AMP as training and development manager or something like that. Yeah. And I went, okay, cool. I cut it out. That's as far as I got. Couldn't apply for another job. Just ingrained, I need to run my own show. I need to make my own decisions, stand or fall on my own sword. I'll figure this out. So, yeah, there's been some serious ups and downs throughout. But, yeah, a huge time. I mean, this last COVID thing, sure. But before that, we had GFC. Before that, we had, it's just going to happen.
And that keeps giving.
And then you get surprise legal cases out of nowhere. So there's huge, big ups and downs. But I would rather be doing this than, being told what to do.
No, I agree. The best and worst things about life is taking responsibility for your success and failures.
Yeah.
Because you can't run. You're like,
yep.
Oh, it's my fault. Fuck.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Yep. So how did I let that happen?
Yeah. As I say, I was saying off here that I play victim a lot. So
it's a
new talent.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, well, it helps someone. Someone here does the exact same thing. They listen to me like, you know what, Ryan? You're a little victim like me, but you try to take responsibility. I'm going to do it too. So, not going to get a job, turned it around doing seminars, and then it evolved into something else?
Yeah, because I was still doing my degree. So I was trying to run this company, and I was doing at least 4 papers, maybe 6 papers a year through Massey. And went to one vacation course, because, they make you turn up for 2 days a year sort of thing, which are always fun because I got to pretend to be a student and you stay in the hostels. It was just awesome. It was like a little holiday. I loved it. I would have loved university, I think. And met a guy there who worked for ANZ, and he said, oh, so you do training and development. Do you do product training? And I went, yeah.
Yeah. I'll work it out.
Yeah.
There's no Google there.
Okay, cool. No, this is pre...
Yeah.
Internet had just come in. I know that sounds so bad. Internet had come in only for email.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That one, that was sending an email. And so I met with him and I went, yep, we can do that. And so
because it was just you.
Yeah. I learned very easy. You say the royal we. Yeah. We can do that.
Me, myself,
just makes you look bigger.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
And so I started doing that, and then I hired my first employee.
Oof. How? What was that like? Like, how do you put a classified ad? You ask around?
No, it's really funny. So my mum said, oh, I know somebody who knows a little bit about computers, I went, oh, okay. So I hired her.
Okay. Yeah, that sums up small business.
Yeah, pretty well. Oh, this is a long time ago. And honestly, she stayed with me for 20, 25 years.
Wow. Yeah. That was good. So she became very good at computers.
Yes.
Yeah. What did her role evolve into?
Oh, well, so this is Tony. Yeah, the whole thing. So she became a learning partner, so learning consultant, learning partner. That's what we call them. And then when I decided to go wandering for 6 months or so, I said, "Here, Tony, you run the company, and I'm just going to go for wander." And she went, "Oh, okay." She didn't really want to. So, here, you have it. When I came back, there was more money in the bank. She'd fired somebody and she'd moved buildings. Good
Tony.
effort, Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grateful to see you again, I imagine.
Oh, yes. I actually asked if I could have another few weeks off. She said, "No, you have to come home now." Oh, okay.
Wow, respect.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So you're doing this product development as a that turned into a
product training. Yep.
Product training.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Product training.
Yep. Training and development, which is what we used to call it. Now we call it learning and development.
Huh. And that model's still the same thing that you stayed with? I know you do induction.
Fundamentally, yeah. So Optimism's base or core is still learning, design, and development. So we, after a particular phase, all we do is design development. So we don't have packages. We don't, provide these one-off things. We design and develop learning solutions, learning and performance solutions in whatever format. That's why we do it a lot of digital, because some digital technologies give you a lot of scope for doing things really nicely, easily, and but we still design training courses, or it could just be a checklist. That's all that's needed to change everything, or whatever it happens to be. So that is learning strategy and design is still the fundamental of Optimism, but with a big dose of digital technologies, which is what we've got a bit of a name for as well.
So let's say you're doing these governments or corporates or people that have staff that require development, because Induction supports the small to medium, so that.
Although the big ones buy that as well, but anyway.
Oh, both.
Yeah. Even though I made it for the smaller medium, the big ones have bought it.
Huh.
Yeah. It's cool. It's great. Good on them. Yeah.
So what do you actually do? So what
do we do?
You know what I mean? Like you come in.
Give me some examples. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is a couple of the projects we're doing?
You can make one up too.
Some of them, aren't really secrets, but it could be for a bank. We are doing a whole bunch of, so all of their different products. That's where we started actually in ANZ, but it might be all their products and services and helping their people understand them and know the right place and time and the right people that need those products and services. So that's sort of understanding them. So products and service knowledge. Yeah, not so much for sales now because banks can't really sell. Or for, say, MPI, we're doing, we've just finished this big program helping Pacific Islands manage their fisheries. That's really cool. So they used to go over there and run lots of workshops, but, that gets harder and harder. So it's putting that into online learning, but a blended learning program where they've got webinars as well, or they might have one-to-one coaching or whatever else, but they've got different things, and that's a whole span of different things. What else are we doing at the moment? Oh, we're doing this really cool one with Lalanga, which is financial literacy for Pacifica. And I just think it's very cool program, and he's awesome too. We are doing, so one time we're doing 10, 15 very, very different projects, really vastly different. We're doing one on a series on neurodiversity at the moment. That's pretty interesting. We are, I don't know.
Yeah.
If you think of all the large corporates, we're probably working with some of them, like the Fonterras and the Fisher and Paykel Healthcares and the Air New Zealand and all of those, as well as the governments. But just anything unique to them, particularly around their core operations. So if you can buy it off the shelf, we don't do it.
Do you like record videos of you guys doing it, or them talking?
Sometimes them talking. We do a lot of video, but if we're doing video, it's often scenario-based learning. So you'll put into this scenario, and here's the context, and da-da-da. Now you need to make this choice. And ideally, that's in first person. So you're talking to you. What do you want to say next? Great. He said that. What do you want to do about that? Okay, cool. Now that takes you over here. And this is the natural consequence rather than, if you're reading about stuff, we try and show, not tell. or experience it, not just read it. Because you can read all the policies you like. That doesn't mean you can actually do anything right that they wanted you to do.
Yeah.
So if so for info security and privacy, which is quite a big thing, rather than just read the policy again and do a quiz, it's like, cool. The phone rings. You pick up the phone and it's like, hey, could you just let me know blah 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 about my record? It's like, sure. And then somebody pops up and says, no, you can't do that. You better read the privacy policy again, sort of thing. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't do that. But can you confirm your identity? And then like, what questions do you want to ask? So you're actually doing it. And then back on the job, you can do it.
It makes sense. That there was an incredible sales trainer, because I used to do the leadership training for that commission-only selling. So I started working it out and getting better at it. And he broke it down in 3 segments of learning, which was attitude, knowledge, and skill.
Yes.
But most trainers make the mistake of teaching skill as knowledge. Like you're saying, that reading component. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, and that's, if we're talking about learning, the first thing is, what do you want them to do? Not know. Don't tell them this and this and this. Doesn't change anything. What do you want them to do? Great. Now let's figure out what's the easiest way to help them do that. So our sort of little byline is, our job is to make it easy for them to be good at it. But what is it? What's it? What do you want them to be good at? And it's not recalling a policy or remembering the procedure. It's like actually doing it. What do you want them to do? And so some people, this awareness training, that used to be a big thing, awareness training. It's like, great. Why do you want them to be aware? What do you want them to say or do differently? What's the point? Sticking stuff in their head. Aware. Now what?
I want them to be a monk.
Yeah. Or aware of a monk. Why?
Yeah. What about the motivational component? So I understand the do part.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it like that. It makes sense. How do you motivate or encourage? Like, what do they get out of it? Like the learner that's starting.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely, you've got, if we're upskilling some people, I often use our little model called SCOM. SCOM. Yeah. It's skill, like you say, skill, knowledge, opportunity, and motivation. So if somebody says, hey, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, this is based on Mager, if anybody's heard of Mager, but he's one of my gurus. Skill, knowledge, opportunity, motivation. Can they do it? Could they ever do it? And then, so if they could do it and now they're not doing it, then you don't need training. It's not training again. Knowledge. Do they know what they need to know? And do they know when they're supposed to do it? And do they know what standard you want from them? And then opportunity is, have they got the resources to do it? Have they got the, everything they need to be able to do it? Are there barriers or obstacles to performance? And then the motivation. Okay, so are you rewarding the behavior you want or the performance you want? Or actually, in some cases, there's negative consequences to doing what you want them to do, so they stop doing it. Or there's no consequences, so there's no point, so they don't bother. So really, and then if you're looking at that, do you want, are you encouraging intrinsic motivation or extrinsic? But either way, there has to be consequence. So we're thinking about that. So if we've got somebody who says, hey, we need training, then it's like, okay, cool, let's just SCOM it for a sec and understand, what's the real gap here? What do you want them to be doing that they're not doing? And what are they doing that you didn't want them doing? Because there's 2 parts to that. And then we can sort of SCOM that. And if it's just a purely motivation thing, or even, so fantastic training, learning, whatever you want to call it, isn't going to change anything if, as you say, the M isn't right, the motivation or the consequences. And for salespeople, as you know, it might be their commission structure. It doesn't encourage them to go sell that product, so nobody will. So what are you rewarding and what are you punishing? And is there a consequence anyway? So, and we can't necessarily always affect those, but we can recommend into, you need to look at this or you need to address that.
So selfish question here.
Yeah.
Because I started an online learning platform that sucks. I was like, I'll build it. I've got an audience, and then I'll get instructors to teach things about money. But it was too hard for them to, like, the learning curve. I had this one long hour video broken up into chapters that will teach them how to work through things. So that was, asking too much.
Yep.
But my main goal is to be able to create content at scale that has the potential for them to start doing, which is going to be hard. If you were to do that, how would you, if you had a static system or is that impossible and I need to do like monthly workshops? But what would be a way to encourage and inspire others to start taking make smarter decisions with their money from an infrastructure and framework standpoint?
Yeah. Well, so with like the Sorted website, Sorted.
Yeah.
Okay. It's got amazing amount of stuff on it. It's got all sorts of tools and techniques and clever stuff and whatever else. If you know what specific thing you're looking for, you can find it. If you don't know what you don't know and you don't know what you need to know, you actually need a pathway for that. And along the way, you need little celebrations or rewards or achievements or feeling like little successes. So you need that pathway and you need the little sense of achievement along the way to keep you going. And that should be practical and applied. But just like anything, just like people can read a book and they go, wow, great book, but they don't do anything about it. So can you then somehow ensure the doing part? And is that the one-on-one or the little webinar or the follow-up or the consequence? What's the consequence of not doing anything or starting it? Do you know how many people, I don't know the stats, but how many people pay for an online course, for an example, and don't, if they start, don't finish? Now, not finishing might be a consequence of a poor design of the course, but not starting. But then again, what could you do to get them to start? To help them start? If that's the problem, how do you help them start? And if they fall off at, mod 2 or mod 3, what else can you do is that when you need to personally intervene? Or sometimes people do need a bit of a coach to plug them through. So
it makes sense.
There's a pathway.
The plan for the emotional component, that part of the business, was to do these large events and inspire and encourage people, teach them things, and then they go on a retreat of sorts, and to create a better reality and a more meaningful connection with themselves and their world around them. And then it's a certain price tag, so they're motivated to do it, but then refund a large portion of that if they maintain their own community from it. It sounds a bit culty, for a sustained period of time to incentivize that community. But I never thought to apply it to finance, because I only learned money because it's important for people. It bores the shit out of me, but now I understand it. I get it. So is there, even applying it to psychology or any sort of organization that wants to make a difference, recognizes they don't want to bottleneck it to them, and you work with quite large scaled organizations. So how do you incorporate that? You got a limited amount of time, but you want to make a meaningful impact. Is it that large event breaking into communities? Like, I don't know. I put you on the spot.
Whoa. No. I'm up for it. Okay. Give me the topic. What is your topic?
So say psychologists. Right now, we maybe make 15 new clinical psychologists a year. They have an 8 to 10 week waiting list. So there's a huge unmet, unserviced need.
Yeah.
Someone calls up suicidal, they're on hold for 30 minutes.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Sorry. Right. Keep going.
How do we scale psychology in the sense where they learn tools?
Yep.
They have a certain means of utilizing those tools in their life.
Yep.
And then they have some sort of support to keep that accountability consequence.
Yeah. That's definitely a whole sort of program. I would probably start by getting a group of the potential people, the users, into a little focus group and going, right, when you're feeling like that, what's the best thing we could do to help you? Great. Then, given this, or this, it could have turned out either way, then what would be the best? And they call it co-design. I call it a focus group, or user-centered design, whatever, they would like to call it today. And figure out what's the best way to take that forward. I've seen this beautiful tool on Lavar's website. Again, that's Pacifica. And it's something like Ask Auntie, and it's an interactive coaching thing. It's like, hey, what's your problem? Blah, blah, blah. And you put that in, and it says, okay, and so what have you done about it? And then, and have you considered And it's an interactive sort of coaching tool. Now you have to sort of type or text to interact with it. But it's a really nice little tool. It's very cool. I think the value of talking to somebody is they can, they have insights, but it's also questioning. We did a module once, so there was a workshop on courageous conversations for NRNZ actually at the time, and we wanted to turn that into a module and an e-learning type, digital learning type module. We had little components of video and things like that with different techniques, but we had this voice actually asking you questions from a coaching perspective. And it's very similar to that Levar tool, which was text-based. But you can very cleverly ask the right questions to get people to thinking. Because one of the most powerful tools is, why do you think that? And why? And why? And why? And there's a certain point that's useful. It's not all the time. But what have you considered, and what have you sort of tried, and what worked well about that? Or can you think of a time when you were successful? Great. How could that overlay into this? And all those sorts of things. I think it really could be done.
It's a good lesson
as a
to
part.
have again. Yeah, no. Well, it's
not the whole, but
it makes sense. It's like I talk about this with content all the time. A whole lot of people sitting in a boardroom speculating over 6 months to make a stock image on their Facebook gets 2 likes. They're speculating on what the market needs instead of presenting something to the market and listening what the market wants.
Yep.
And I didn't do that. It makes it re-listen a little. I just made something. This is what they want instead of building a community that's invested in a part of the process.
Yep.
Are there tools that you, apart from a focus group, so a digital component, that creates that incorporation, like whether it's like Discord or something like that, or how would you, because you've probably got these different people in different areas, is there a way that you help facilitate good data and good feedback? Like in terms of there's a tool, or do you send out an email? Do you just call them all and talk to every single one of them? How do you get little iterations from
right? Yeah.
from other people?
So from the original co-design and focus group thing, and then see what's happening?
Yeah, you've created it for this group. How do you make sure it's on point and keep making adjustments?
Yeah. So as soon as you've done it the first time, your first thing would be a pilot or a user testing, and then you're getting quite deep feedback because the people that are buying into the pilot or the user testing know that they're the first up, so they're open to giving you good feedback. And I would tend to say structured feedback, so that you know the good questions that you need to ask, because even in the questions, the design of the questions you're asking, verbally or not, that's a part. You can do those monthly sort of checks, online checks, survey checks. So every month, how are you feeling about this, and or tell us what you think. Or the NPS, and I suppose people like NPS, the Net Promoter Score, because it's what's your rating, 1 to 10, and what's your main reason for that? So it's very quick for people to answer, but you get a lot of information out of 2 very quick questions. So doing that. But also in our platform, there's a little feedback, just a feedback button. Say anything you want, press the button and type in your thing. Like Xero on their platform, they have the little smiley, how did you feel about it? And only the people who are really happy or really sad will actually respond. The middle lot don't. And that's okay, because that's fine. But you're actually getting those, and that's the sort of info. I also just read this other book that said when you're doing customer surveys and things, or user surveys, sometimes it's useful just to focus on your ideal audience or your ideal user. Yeah. So rather than get the outliers and running around trying to cater to outliers, get the ones who really are your target or really using it strongly, or they're the strongest promoters. Now build on that, because that's where your gold lies, sort of thing.
It's funny, that's sort of the benefit of those EO and stuff like that, is that you forget, like you're essentially saying 80-20, and I'm just like
80-20. Always 80-20.
It's mad.
Yep.
Okay. So I love, and I think the audience would appreciate too, around the tool component. Like, what do you use to design learning? Like, I use LearnDash, or do you have your own platform, or what are some cool tools if someone wanted to design their own sort of thing?
Ah, okay, cool. So if somebody wanted to create digital learning, the first thing I would recommend is to go Articulate. So Articulate is, so it's so what we call a rapid authoring tool. So it creates e-learning, rapid authoring tool, a RAT. But Articulate, and within the Articulate suite, there's Articulate Storyline, which needs a bit more sort of thought and things, but we can do almost anything with Articulate Storyline. But then as part of the same suite, you've got Articulate Rise. And what that does is gives very normal people, like anybody, the ability to create online material. I say online content, interactive content with quizzing and reviewing. You can embed videos and images and things like that. I'm not saying that it instantly makes you instructionally sound. It doesn't necessarily give you amazing learning design, but it's an easy tool to use and to drive and to put content in and things like that.
Yeah, very PC way of saying that. Some of you shouldn't be making content. That's what I think. Not you.
No, that was right. Yeah.
Stay in your little box and type.
I used to have this very favourite expression, it's online, but is it learning? Because people used to throw content online, add a quiz and go, hey, it's learning. It's like, yeah, it's online, but is it learning? Where's the learning design part of that? It's content online with a couple of questions on it.
I feel attacked.
Oh, sorry.
No, I don't. No, thanks. I want to get better, so I don't care.
But here's another one. Another cool one is for quick little cute animations, something like Biteable. It's just, or you can go bigger, stronger for something like Beyond, which requires more effort. But just like those little animations where you can really bring out your message in a little. It's almost like a communication.
Cool.
Yeah, but they're two really good starter type tools.
Dude, if there's a way to make animation scalable and engaging, nearly every business, I believe, should have a mascot.
Yeah. Okay, then you're talking about handcrafting, but.
Yeah, well, for me, then that's a bit
slightly different animation. Yeah, handcrafted animation's really expensive. But in some, you can create different sort of characters and dress them up and put uniforms on them and things like that. And so you could use that as your mascot, but it's not fully handcrafted.
Yeah, that's a valid, because nearly every successful business I've seen have a mascot, whether it's a person or it's a cartoon. Because who cares about the brand? Like even Nike. Nike is in essence the people that wear the equipment. That's their mascots. I'm not looking at tech and be like, it's fine. People care about people. We made it.
Yeah, that's true.
We're at 55 minutes, by the way. So what would be, something either that people will personally get benefit from or from a corporate standpoint that they should be mindful of that you would like as you're imparting words of wisdom?
If we're talking about businesses, organizations, so anybody who hires people and hires them and needs to embed them, induct them. We talked about this briefly before. We during COVID years, we've talked about the Great Resignation, and then they're talking now about the Great Regret. So people left you, went somewhere else, and that organisation didn't do a good job of aligning them, engaging them, and embedding them. So maybe some 4 quick tips on, and also those which I'm still hearing about today. Somebody sends out a contract, and the person either doesn't sign it and send it back after they verbally said they would, or they sign it, send it back, but they never actually turn up for day one. That's still happening today. And what that means is between recruiting them, and maybe you did a bad job during that recruitment process and it was a bit dodgy, but between supposedly hiring them and their first day, they got cold feet, they weren't really bought in, they weren't engaged, and they got another opportunity, or they got cold feet and were returned, or to the last place, or whatever. So during then, this is called pre-boarding or pre-start, you've got a huge opportunity to turn them into ambassador, get them excited, get them engaged, get them really thinking about, their life in your company, and reassuring them. The biggest thing is reassuring them that they made a good decision to come to you. So during that first little stage, one of the things we really encourage our companies to do, the ones we work with, is to send them some sort of little gift. And I know people do that on their first day and they leave something on their desk. Send it to them beforehand. That's when they're, they can feel a bit dodgy or have cold feet. So send them a little welcome gift, ideally that represents your company in some way. So, if you actually make a product, a consumer type product, sure, that might be good. If you're a service, then think about what might be associated with what you do. And if you've got a marketing department, you've got lots of branded items anyway, so use some of those. So whatever it is, let it be a reflection of you. And so for us, just as an example, I just did one today, we do a bottle of champagne because it's like, yay, you're coming to join us. And then we put in whatever was our last sort of Christmas gift, branded Christmas gift, and a little package and saying, hey, we're so excited to see you. Plus, of course, they get invited to start their induction because, obviously we use Induction App ourselves. And so they get a little link to that and they go, oh, okay. And it's got a little welcome video from me. And then it's got, here's how you can prepare, how we're going to prepare for you. We're going to have morning tea for you. What's your dietary requirements to make sure we cater to you, and all those sorts of things. And here's a bit about the company, and you made such a good decision. So it's a bit of reinforcement. So one's the welcome gift. To find out, give them something compelling or engaging about your company to buy into, whether it's your vision or whether it's a bit of the backstory. So we include a little backstory about how the company got created and how Optimism sits with Induction Company. It's just like, oh, hey, wow, I feel like I know you a bit better. So that sort of thing. So inspiring company information. Paperwork. Gosh, if you're still sending out paper, that's just a bad thing. Because, one, you're making them handwrite out a whole lot of information. We're not used to that much handwriting. Secondly, you're making it do them 3 times on their IR330 or in New Zealand, their KiwiSaver and their employee payroll form. Please just put it online. Let them fill out one little online form. It propagates the 3 or more forms, honestly. Make that part. So it's just all this reinforcement type stuff to make them think, I made a good decision. And I know the stuff I need to know to look good on first day. Then, of course, make their first day welcoming, engaging, and not overload of paperwork and all that stuff. It really is about, hey, we're so glad to have you here. And it's just being, that first part is just being thoughtful about the experience you want them to have. Rather than just go, because for business owners, definitely, but a lot of managers, inducting people is such a burden. It's like, oh, flip, I forgot they're starting on Monday. Damn it, I've got all these meetings. Shit, what shall I do with them? I'll sit them in the corner. You read that for a while. Sorry, I'll come and see you at 2 p.m. Running a bit late. And it's just a big effort. So anyway, it's just thinking about the induction experience that you want your people to have and really reinforcing their decision to join you.
Yeah, it's massive. And we used to look at it when we recruit people about kind of like a ship. Once the ship's going in the right direction, it's pretty easy to, it's gone that way. In the essence that I look at what are the values that we can convey in the best way with the best people when they first come in. So the process part, I avoid like plague, but I know it's important. So I'm listening to how you do that.
Streamlined.
Yeah, streamlined.
Automated.
Yeah, I'll get there. But I think Greg will continue his ways. But around, say work ethic, you put them with someone that has a great work ethic, that has good values, and then they tend to take on 80% of what that person does. So then they're already going the right direction instead of like they're 4 weeks down, they've been around people that aren't encouraging them, supporting them. And then,
but then you shouldn't have those people around anyway.
Yeah.
If you're a business owner.
Yeah.
I mean, it's different in companies, but as a business owner, one of our little EO type thoughts that we have is, would you rehire everybody in your company at the drop of a hat? And I often think about that. And right now, absolutely I would.
What it was Gary Vaynerchuk says, hiring is guessing, firing is knowing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now that we're at the hour,
Yep.
who should find you and how can they find you? So, you've got these two companies, Optimism and Induction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, who should be looking for you and how they should be looking for you?
Cool. Okay, large companies, corporates, governments who want bespoke learning and performance solutions, unique design just for you for a key role or for whatever. That's Optimism. So optimism.co.nz. Anybody who knows they need to sort out the way they do induction because they need to get their people engaged, aligned, productive and compliant quickly, easily, set their people up for success, then you want to go to inductionapp.co.
Cool. Easy. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.